Welcome to the Treasury Update podcast, presented by Strategic Treasurer, your source for interesting Treasury news, analysis, and insights in your car, at the gym, or wherever you decide to tune in.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Treasury Update podcast. Today, I am here with Paul Galloway, Senior Advisor here at Strategic Treasurer. Paul, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Appreciate it, Brian.
So today we're talking about bank fees and bank fee analysis. Today's episode is titled The Hidden Risks in Your Bank Fee Analysis and How to Fix Them. So Paul, diving into this, what does bank fee analysis usually look like in practice?
Yeah, so this is probably one of the more common things that anybody that listens to this podcast may fall in this category. Although we're seeing more and more companies look towards technology to help them, we do find oftentimes that companies are completing bank fee analysis on their own or not at all. They're not even looking at it. And they often get surprised by the fees that they're actually paying. So we do encourage organizations to, analyze their fees, and it's certainly better to have a third party complete this analysis because third parties have a whole data bank full of data points from all kinds of banks, and so they know where the industry standards are in terms of pricing. And it also allows you to input your contracted, agreed upon fees within a system and analyze the fees that you're being charged to come in on your monthly bank fee analysis statement compared to what was agreed upon. And this really does help you also to negotiate any fees that are inappropriate. So, I think, that's one of the things in practice. It's just still one that's either manually done in a spreadsheet or companies just aren't looking at the bank fees.
So what are some of the common blind spots or weaknesses with bank fee analysis?
Yeah, we talked about Excel spreadsheets and no analysis at all. Of course, no analysis at all, putting your head in the sand and everything's going to be all right. That's really a bad approach to take. Excel spreadsheets are manual inputs in nature, so it's prone to human error. It takes a long time to work on that, and mistakes can happen. Another area of weakness that's pretty common that organizations may not think about is earnings credit rate, or ECR. Oftentimes, banks have the ability to charge different rates to different clients. Customers have different deposit balances or engage in different businesses with a bank. So it's not just banking services. It can be credit. It can be a variety of other things that the bank is providing to a customer. And that can have an impact on the ECR rate. But what the ECR rate effectively does is it's used to offset bank fees. And so a customer will get in a bank account analysis statement and they'll see that, they don't owe any fees this particular quarter or month, depending on how the bank sends that out, typically monthly. But when they send that out, they see they don't owe anything. And so they're happy because they don't have any cash going out the door. The ECR had covered the bank fees. The challenge to that is that, one, customers may ignore their fees then or think that they're being charged appropriately, and so they may not complete the analysis at all. So that's where the not at all comes into play. Or they may use the Excel spreadsheets to, complete their own internal analysis with not really knowing whether it's appropriate or not. When a bank is giving you an ECR rate, it's typically tied to balances that are kept in accounts. And that means that they get to use your cash on their balance sheet to effectuate loans to other people so that they can continue to grow their revenue stream. So they're using your money on a temporary basis to make a greater earning than what they're paying you in the ECR. And so there's this kind of a trap in a way that organizations don't realize what they're actually losing out on if they were to use the funds themselves, either investing or in product development or other activities that grow the business. And so it's kind of hidden. Another thing that we do see some organizations do is they actually create in-house systems. And this is where they take an Excel spreadsheet and kind of put it on steroids. They're using Power BI or other tools to do analysis and generate reports to help them with the bank fee analysis. Another area that we do see is that organizations don't complete bank RFPs on a regular cadence. It may be quite a long period in between doing bank RFPs. What a bank RFP does is it helps reset pricing to what typical industry standards should be. Now, of course, you need to know what those industry standards are, and that oftentimes requires that you have a third party that has an industry litmus test. They know where fees should be, what the range should be, what the mid-range should be. So it gets you within, helps you negotiate those fees. RFPs often, though, do result in lower fees because the bank doesn't want to lose a relationship. It costs a lot more to gain a new customer than keep the one that they have on the books. The other thing that organizations need to keep in mind is their bank relationships. You don't want to have a weak relationship with your bank. If you have a weak relationship with your bank, you may not be getting the service or the products that you desire, and you may be charged a rate that is not appropriate for the service that you're receiving. So those are some of the common blind spots, I think, when it comes to, bank fee analysis for organizations.
Okay, so it's not uncommon for us to have weak bank fee analysis. When we do, how do banks benefit from that? You touched on that a little bit, but maybe you could flesh that out a little bit more for us.
It's certainly not uncommon to have that level of weakness. We do see quite a few organizations that fit that bill. When it comes to, the benefits that banks might receive from a weak bank fee analysis process is that, they get to continue to charge higher fees than what the industry is currently seeing. And so if you don't know what you don't know, then you're kind of blind to it. So it goes back to that blind spot. So they get to receive fees at a higher rate than the norm. Another one is that they could be charging fees on products and services that you haven't signed up for. So if you're in that category of doing no analysis, you may not realize that these charges are coming through. And the only way to do that is to compare your bank fees to what was agreed upon to ensure that you aren't being charged for something that you shouldn't have. It also gives you the opportunity to say, well, we really don't utilize this service, so I don't see why we should have it anymore or be charged for it. So you can negotiate that with your bank, but your banks get to continue to charge those fees. The other one I talked about is the use of ECR. What that does is it clouds the true cost that companies pay the bank for products and services. So relying on ECR to cover fees, you don't truly understand what the costs are.
Okay, that's helpful. So clearly we don't want weak bank fee analysis. We want strong, robust monitoring and analysis. How do we get there as a team? What should we be doing to get there?
Yeah, this is a great question, so you've heard all the stuff that you don't like to hear, the weaknesses, things aren't being done, perhaps you're paying fees you shouldn't, maybe you're being charged more than what you should. So how do you combat this? How do you put yourself in the best position and provide the best visibility to what the true costs of the banking services and products are? Well, the first is the monthly reviews against contracted pricing. If an organization is at least doing this within their spreadsheet that they have, that at least helps get a lay of the land in terms of what they're being charged. Is it the correct rate? Is it also for all the products and services they agreed to receive and use? So that gives you a chance to, at a bare minimum, using spreadsheets, test that. The hard part about that, as we talked about earlier, is a comparison to industry fees. You really need a third party to help with that because it's difficult for organizations to get that industry level pricing unless they have relationships. Let's say they have a lot of relationships with a lot of banks, in particular tier 1, tier 2, so the largest banks to the largest regional sized banks, where they do get the information coming in on a regular basis with their account analysis statements. Even then, you got to take all that information, you got to input it into a spreadsheet and keep track of it. Third parties can help automate that, eliminate the use of the spreadsheets and the potential for errors, human error, and you do really get the true industry range or number that you would expect to be paying for a particular product or service. The other one is around periodic bank RFPs. If you haven't done a bank RFP for 10 years, you need to be doing one. If you're not doing that on a regular cadence, you aren't able to keep your banks honest, and you may be missing out on opportunities for better products, better services at a better rate. So you want to do those periodic bank RFPs. We typically see organizations doing every 3 to 5 years. Some may stretch it out a little bit more. But if it's been 10 years or more, you need to be doing one. So do recommend doing that.
Okay. And last question. If my team is evaluating a third-party solution, what should we be looking for in that third party that could help us with our bank fee analysis?
Well, one, they need to be able to consume the account analysis statements received from the banks, and those can come in different file formats. Making sure that they can consume it and that they can get it into their system to analyze it is the first component. The next one is being able to get your contracted prices into their system so that they can do a comparison as part of the analysis. The third piece that you want to have is that they're able to break things out on an industry basis so you can see if that litmus test is giving you a good sense of whether fees are appropriate or not. The other thing is that you want this to be secure, so the handling of data needs to be done in a secure way, and the ability to generate reports that can be utilized to share within your organization as part of treasury visibility to what's going on.
All right. Thank you for this, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian. It's always a pleasure.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the Treasury Update Podcast. This is your host, Brian Weeks. We'll talk to you next time.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Treasury Update Podcast. Be sure to follow Strategic Treasurer on LinkedIn. Just search for Strategic Treasurer. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only, and statements made by Strategic Treasurer LLC on this podcast are not intended as legal, business, consulting, or tax advice. For more information, visit and bookmark strategictreasurer.com.